Hello, welcome to Kenty Primetime. Paul Kent here. Got a very special show today. It's going to be our year-ender, the final primetime for season 2025. We're going to do a little bit of a year in review, so we're going to do it slightly different today. And honestly, the gods have smiled on us today. So Warren Livingston, my partner from Kenty Blitz, is basically going to lead us today. But the gods have smiled on us. Grand final week. We have not only one of the preeminent player managers in Steve Chimes Gillis, but the man at the heart of R360.
G'day, Paul. G'day, Warren.
And look, with everything that's going on, Chimes couldn't have picked a better time to turn up. So thank you for coming today.
Thanks, Paul.
Oh, doesn't rugby league just have a way of just dishing up stories at the right time?
Grand final week's always a quiet week for the media, isn't it? They've generally got nothing to write about.
Nothing to write about.
So
and
dug something up.
But I tell you what, this week it's been a ripper. So anyway, we'll talk about that later on in the show.
I'll give you a quick story about grand final week.
Yeah.
So Christian Nicolosi rang me yesterday, who's a well-known journalist, and he's just written Adam Reynolds' book, which is going to launch in about 3 weeks' time. And he said to me, "Hey, mate, have you got any Adam Reynolds yarns or any stories about Adam?" I said, "Mate, you've just written his book." I said, "Why are you ringing me?" That's how good they are.
I tell you what, I can't wait to read that. That's going to be better.
He knows him better than I do. I want to know if I knew something about him. So, anyway.
Oh, it does not surprise me. It does not surprise me. Some of the stuff that, I always get told, Chimes, I should write a book about all the stuff that you don't put in the newspaper. You know, all that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually, I tell you what, it'd keep a few awake at night, I think.
It would.
Chimes, you got a book coming out, don't you?
And I'm working on a book. Yeah. I'll be 12 months away, but I'm going to put out a book,
Will that have a few of those things that Kenty's talking about?
No, mine will be more little tidbits about funny little things that have happened that I can talk about. There'll be an M-rated and R-rated version.
Very good. Well, Chimes agreed to come onto the show prior to this whole week blowing up, so we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I wanted to start off, Kenty, and say how good it is to have you back on the airwaves this year. I just want to ask you, if you've enjoyed the process and where you're at now.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't thought it through too much. One thing is when you've got a lack of options, it gives you clarity of mind.
So I remember interviewing you on my podcast, chiming in, and you were at, I wouldn't say ground zero, but you were at the beginning of your new journey.
Yeah.
So you've certainly come a long way, mate. You've got everyone, the numbers are huge. People love listening to you. You know your footy, you tell a story. So it's great to have you back. Yeah,
it's good. I've enjoyed it. It's funny, what's changed is probably the perception of me, that I'm now social media and not mainstream media. And I think in many ways I still have the same sort of thoughts on many things. But the way it's received is probably a little bit different than what it used to be when I was part of the evil empire. So anyway, it's been good. We've earned enough money to put in a can to kickstart next year. Whether we get through next year, we'll wait and see.
Kenty, I was just going to mention, without getting too deep into this, you seem to be in a lot better place now than you were at the start of the year. I've kind of sat beside you for a long time. Well, not only financially, but,
have you grown up?
No, mate. When I did your podcast, mate, I basically had my career. I've worked for 35 years in one industry, and it was all done because, I don't want to get into all that sort of rubbish, but it was unfair how it all started. I take responsibility for my mate the tree. You know what I mean? That's all on me, but other stuff wasn't. And I think there was weakness in parts from people I didn't expect weakness from. But who cares, mate? You know what? Pick yourself up and go again. So
back on track anyway.
We've agreed to go next year, so that's great news. Chimes, your first foray into podcasting, how's that gone for you? I think you've done about 33 shows or something.
No,
you said you're going to try a couple.
We did that in a month.
It's been enjoyable. I've enjoyed the people that we've met and spoken to. They've all got great stories. They all give up their time for free. They're all very kind, good people. I'm very grateful for that, and hopefully people have enjoyed it too. So
I think they have. I think the fact you've chosen different people, not necessarily, just the big names in the NRL has been good. And when you've done the big names, you've pulled the big names. You've pulled Gus, Jack DeBellin, Buzz Rothfield. Like they've all been on the show.
yeah.
Just give me a bit of an example of a couple of times you've enjoyed and what you've got out of the guests.
I enjoyed the Blake Steep one.
Yeah,
how he
amazing.
rescued his father's life, which the story, isn't that well known, but it's a great listen. Dave Gillespie was good. Dr. Nathan Gibbs was great, and insight into medicine, what the players go through, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, look, I've enjoyed them. They've all been really good. A lot of fun.
Jake Friend was good too. He was very honest.
Friendy was good. Yeah.
What about you, Kenty? Any shows or any guests stand out for you?
Look, I'm still getting over Nat Woods telling the story about Tricky's ear being under the toilet door.
Yeah, that was very good.
I knew all the people that came on my show, and in different ways. And I just enjoy telling stories. You know what I mean? Like, there's this thought in American sport that a sport is only as rich as its history. And in rugby league, we don't do a really good job of remembering our stories and our histories, and that's partly because of the Australian way is, oh mate, I can't talk about that. Okay, in America they document everything. Okay, you look at all the Kennedy files that continue to be released, all the mafia stuff that's come out. They document everything, and over time it comes out, and it doesn't get lost to time. Whereas here we have this, oh mate, and I've got a couple. I was talking to a bloke, I won't name him, but I've been talking to him about writing his book and turning it into a TV series and things like that. And in the end, he just said, mate, I don't want to talk about it because one, he didn't want to give anyone up, which he didn't have to, but two, he just didn't want to seem like a big noter and talk about his life, and that's his prerogative.
For fear of being knocked down.
No, just
tall poppy kind of thing.
Just didn't want people to think, oh, listen to you talk about all that sort of stuff. And there's the Aussie way in many ways is, but I don't want to talk about that. And how many times, like I've had this on my podcast, I'm sure you have too, Chimes, where you say to someone, oh, mate, we might talk about this today. Oh, no, I don't want to talk about that. Yeah. And you're like, mate, that's just a great story. But often it's a story, and this is the sort of part of the dilemma, often it's a story where they've done something that's pretty cool or people would be impressed with. And they don't want to talk about it because they don't want to look like they're big noting themselves. And a couple of times I've tried to get it out, and so I've started to tell a story, at which point the response is, mate, shut up and let him tell the story. We don't want to hear you tell it, but they don't want to tell it. But I also don't want to be here talking and telling a story about someone in front of them, because they sort of get embarrassed by that as well. So a lot of stuff just doesn't get spoken about. Like we did a show the other day, Chimes, only a couple of days ago, and we're talking about the old Rothmans Medal nights.
Great nights.
See, there you go, right? Now, the Dally M's were on Wednesday night. Shocking. They've turned the whole event into a TV show. Nobody turns up unless they're getting the trophy. The fun of it all that used to be there, the Rothmans Medal and even the early days of the Dally M's used to be a night to just let off steam.
Yeah, but were they mixed nights back then?
The Rothmans, no, it was only blokes. Yeah. Rothmans only blokes. Dally M.
That's the end of it.
Well, that's probably why. But remember, like old Chook Raper used to sit there and he'd get half cut. He'd find someone and square up on him and, mate, I think you're a prick. You know what I mean? And
it was the Wild West back then, wasn't it?
It was the Wild. Like, blokes would go over tables. You know what I mean? Like literally blokes would be wrestling over tables and glasses would be smashing. But at the end of the day, everyone go, oh, mate, what about that? Wasn't a good night. Yeah. Now, there'd be some little pencil neck prick in the corner filming it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then turn into a scandal and all that
You
sort of
couldn't
bullshit.
do it now.
Times have changed, Kenty. I want to ask you, you just mentioned about, bit of tall poppy syndrome and stuff, and both of you have been leaders in your field. Chimes, you've been, an absolute leader in player management. And Kenty, I'd like to think that, I know that you've kind of changed media in many ways and decided how media would be presented through 360 for 13 odd years you were there. Yeah. How do you guys deal with that, in terms of putting yourself out there and putting your chin always there ready to be hit? You feel like you're...
It's changed the media, hasn't it?
Yeah,
it's
changed, not for the better either.
No, look, it's all about being first.
No one cares if they're wrong. Back in the old days, you wrote a story. If you got it wrong, it'd sit in the paper for 24 hours. You had 24 hours to sit there and look at a story that was wrong.
It's a walk of shame, wasn't it?
It was. It was a walk of shame. The flip side was, if you wrote a story that was a ripper, you had 24 hours where everyone was saying, mate, good yarn. Good story, well done. But if it's a bad one, mate, you sat there and you just wallowed in it, right?
Yeah.
Now, though, you get it wrong, goes up on the internet, 5 minutes later it's gone. Something else has overtaken it. And there's, I'm not going to sit here and preach to journalists how they should be doing their job now, right? They do it their way, that's fine. It's not the way it's not the industry I grew up in. It's not the way it was when Chimes and I...
There was no clickbait in your day either.
Well, there was, mate, I came in at the very beginning of computers, right? And the screen was this big, and the computer was this big. Remember those ones? Yeah. Literally, the computer was this big.
I remember typewriters, Paul.
Yeah, well, I just missed typewriters. But there's no internet when I started. Yeah. And even 50, I think the internet's changed journalism more than it's changed any career in many ways. But,
I want to talk to you about a few of those big things this year, because a lot of that was driven by the media or driven by interest from the fans, which then fed the media. So things like this year we went through Dylan Brown into DCE, into Galvin, and Galvin dominated, and then Radley at the end. But how much of it is compared to the old days? You know what I mean? Would these stories have had as much legs as they've got this year? It's been relentless, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think social media drives a lot of that too.
Yeah.
Because then people can comment and share their own thoughts on what's being reported. So it's just the snowball effect.
But that must benefit the players to some extent, because it increases their awareness amongst fans, and maybe not the bad stories, but it increases their value.
Yeah, more so the good stories. The bad stories that can tear you apart.
There'd be very few players making a quid off their social media profile.
No, but it increases their profile within the game, which then makes them more attractive,
For what though?
To other clubs.
Well, clubs are only going to pay for talent.
Well,
they're going to play for what you can do on the footy.
Potential sponsors.
But there's not too many players. Reece Walsh, the couple of Melbourne players.
What percentage of players, Chimes, would have deals outside?
Well,
not third-party deals.
Third party.
Yeah.
Hello.
But
Oh, mate, I remember, I'm pretty sure this is correct, that a few years ago, the player with the most third parties in the NRL was Matt Ballin. And he wasn't a superstar, but he worked hard and he had a lot of little third-party arrangements with many people where he'd share his talent and time.
So $5,000 here, 10
Yeah,
grand
it depends
here,
how hard you want to work and
Yep.
whether you're prepared to chase them and engage with people and follow things up and all that sort of stuff.
What about boot sponsors and stuff? Is that any money in that?
Oh, the elite do all right out of the
So Origin
boot
players?
sponsors. Oh, the elite. So that the companies are more likely to pick one or two or three, and the rest get free boots. So, there shouldn't be. It's unlikely that many, if any, NRL regulars have to buy a pair of boots. They're generally fitted, but the companies will go for the elite stars like a Kalen Ponga or a Cameron Murray, or those that are in the spotlight.
How do we rate this year compared to other years?
I think a lot of it will depend on how the grand final plays out, because we tend to remember years by the grand final.
Okay.
I go back to 2015. Great grand final. What else do you remember from the year? You know what I mean? So, I think up until now, though, it's been a tremendous year.
Yeah. I think it's more the era of that we're in. The last 2, 3, 4 years, the game is booming and zooming and flying high.
Why is that, Chimes?
Oh, it's the product. It's the talent, the athlete, engagement with fans. Women's game has got more women involved. It's a conglomeration of things, but primarily it's the players that produce the product that make the game as attractive as it is. Primarily it's the athlete.
We're in the Volandis era. When we go back and look at, we look at different parts of the eras of the game, this will be the Volandis era where it started back with the COVID stuff. It's come through, and I don't like some of the changes. Right? I don't like the 6 again. I think it sucks. These new dropout rules and where it just goes out and you just get to have a tap. I think they're all just bullshit rules. They're made up. I don't like the fact that on a bad night's sleep you can wake up and say, no, we're going to change this rule. Right? I think the game, back in I think it was the 80s, if not certainly the early 90s, when John Quayle and Ken Atherton run the game, rugby league had different rules in Australia than it did in England and all the rest of it. And they worked took about 3 years to get the rules all back together so the game, wherever you went in the world, had one set of rules. And we've changed all that again. Right? Now, the rules have led, the argument against me will be the rules have led to this more open game. And we've got away, thank Christ, from the wrestle dominating the game. The ruck still wins the game, but you can't wrestle as much as you used to be able to wrestle. And the 6 again has fixed that. So for that reason, the 6 again has been good. But it's just too arbitrary. You sit there and suddenly there's a 6 again, and
no one knows what it's for, right? No one knows.
Well, you sit there and it turned into rugby union.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, where decisions are being made, and the crowd are like, "What was that for? Was it too long to play the ball? Was it a guy offside? No one knows." And once you get to that, it's too easy then to be corrupted. Okay, and coaches play for it. Coaches aim for it now. Coaches are trying to get their players to do things to get the referee to give them a 6 again. The best one is probably they play the ball, they get up, and then they drop. And sometimes they drop with not just a light hand is on them, but they'll drop, and the referees fall for it. But what that does, that's quite dramatic from a football sense, in the pure sporting sense. That's quite a dramatic impact on the game, because if you've just defended for 4 tackles or 5 tackles, and you're about to get a kick, and it's so much energy is expelled in a defensive set. If you just defended for 5 tackles, suddenly they get 6 again, you're going to have to defend for 11 tackles. And that very few teams can defend back-to-back sets, given the speed of the game and the way it's played. And so that's why it has a really telling effect on the game. And that's why I don't like it. But I do appreciate what it's done, which is it has got rid of the wrestle, which began because the game didn't have the intellectual nous, the people running it didn't have the actual intellectual nous to actually realise what was happening and how to stop it. So they didn't nip it off at the beginning. They let it get to a stage where it's so entrenched in the game you couldn't get rid of it. Now the 6 again's started to go to do that, and the reason the game I think is so popular this year, they've had over 4 million people went through the turnstiles, highest ever in the history of the game. They've had highest television ratings in the history of the game. The first 3 weeks of the finals, highest television ratings in finals history. So
last week's was a record again.
Yeah, everything is on an upwards trajectory, right? This is what I find fascinating about this whole. We need to go back to Sunday afternoon grand final, because they're using the evidence of the 3 Sunday afternoon finals games, record crowds, all sellouts, and record television ratings, and everyone's conveniently overlooking that the night games are also sellouts and record TV ratings. And there's every chance Sunday's grand final will be a record as far as viewers go. So that then puts the dilemma on, okay, does that justify going to an afternoon grand final? No, it doesn't. It actually supports staying where it is.
Chimes, I want to ask you 3 things quickly. 6 again, Would you keep it? And then I want to ask you about short dropouts
Yeah.
and what you think about that. And then after that, we'll talk about the day grand final. 6 again and short
Six
dropouts.
again. I don't have a major problem with it, although there are times where if they didn't ring that bell and you wouldn't know what was going on. You know, I feel for the teams defending in their in goal when they've got to defend 4 6 agains in a row.
Yeah.
Like it's near impossible. May as well just award the try.
Yeah.
Yep.
What was your second one? Dropout.
Short dropouts, because they introduced
Yeah.
those to bring a contest. Kenty always
Yeah.
talks about how there's no contest in
They
rugby
also
league
did it
anymore.
to try and get rid of the concussion, to get the big charge, get rid of that
Yeah.
big charge back.
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough risk and reward with the short dropout. It's a bit. You feel a bit deflated when they go the short dropout and it goes sailing into the crowd or goes 2 or 3 metres.
But
you know?
and there's this nonchalance when it happens. Oh, who cares?
Yeah, well, then you reset and off you go.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know?
I mean, that they do the short kickoff because they don't have to defend it as much. They don't have to run up, to the 40-metre line.
Yeah.
So they just have to run the 10, right?
Yeah.
So they conserve.
They don't
energy.
have to go back 10. If you're getting tackled
Yeah.
3 metres from the try line,
Yeah.
you only got to retreat 3 metres,
Yeah.
not the full
Yeah.
10
Yeah.
each tackle.
So in theory, it saves energy, and it provides a contest, but it's become a bit of a farce.
Yeah, I'd like to give the refs a ref. I think they do an incredible job. Have you ever refereed a game?
No.
Would you like to referee a game?
Mate, when I was a kid, you remember when you played junior footy and they always needed linesmen?
Yeah. Put your hand up,
I put my hand up for linesmen.
with a hanky or a stick?
No,
or,
they gave us a stick.
Right.
Kid came in, kicked the goal, and I went like that, and the referee went,
And that was it. That was his career done.
That was
career
you couldn't even tell if the ball had
oh,
gone
mate, the sun got me.
I think they're amazing.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
They are. But, geez, they give you the shits too.
Oh, Jesus, hard. But to name another sport like rugby union. Can you name me 3 rugby union referees?
No.
None, can you?
No.
You'd be flat out getting one, wouldn't you?
One is
Why
French
do
guy.
we
One-
showcase?
one-
Why do we showcase? Why are the league referees such a big part and parcel of our game?
Well,
Yet
yeah.
in rugby, you wouldn't know who they were.
No, one is because Bill Harrigan changed the rules there.
Mm.
Bill turned himself into a
Rockstar.
rock star.
Mm-hmm.
Bill was the best referee ever and the worst thing that ever happened to refereeing. Right? And Bill started this movement among the referees of interpretation rather than officiating. So back when Bill did it, if you're offside, you're offside. You're offside. Referee penalise you. And there would be there'd be 23 penalties in a game back then. It wasn't unusual to have a 15-8 penalty count. And Bill came along and he was a revelation because Bill come off, there'd be 6 penalties in the game. It was 4-2 penalty count. Everyone go, geez. Bill did it he'd go back and what he'd do is he'd talk to the players and he'd manage them. He'd say, mate, you're creeping offside. I'll give you a warning. Every other referee just go, boom, penalty. Bill would go, mate, you're creeping offside. If you don't get back, I'm going to ping you.
Do you like that, though? Johnny, you're inside the 10, hold off.
Yeah, when Bill did it, it was great.
Right.
Right? But this is what people don't understand. This is the difficulty of it. So, and this is what shits me when Ashley Klein last week blew, 18 penalties. Okay? 9-9 penalty count. So he did the right thing, he kept it even.
And Fitzy came out, though, and said, is that what we want?
Yeah, is that what we want? Problem is this. Because there's so much pressure on referees not to blow penalties, the coaches know it. So they'll say to their players, you get offside.
Take it
Stand
on.
offside. Take on the referee. And he'll ping us early and he'll put 2 or 3 against us early on for being offside or holding down too long in the ruck. But keep doing it because after 3 or 4 early penalties,
He won't want to blow anymore.
the crowd will start to boo. He'll be in the back of his mind going, shit, we're 20 minutes in, I've already blown 5 penalties. I can't walk off with 20 penalties blown. So he'll put his whistle away, at which point the players have then won the war to stand offside. And then they choke the game down. So that's the hard part for that the coaches, the referees have got to consider, and the coaches coach towards. The coaches coach their players to take the referee on. The thing, if I can run a magic wand over the game and make one change, it would be for the coaches to coach within the spirit of the rules.
You know, after
It's not going to happen, right? I'm not a fantasist. I know it's not going to happen. But I would like them, rather than a rule, sit there and go, okay, boys, this is a rule. We're no longer allowed to do this. And then they go out and play that way. What they instead do, okay, this is the new rule. We're not allowed to do this. So how are we going to get around it? And that's how they think. And that's what makes the job so difficult for referees. But Klein, I'm not upset with Klein blowing 18 penalties last week, right? Because there was at least 18 infractions in the game. But the difficulty is he knows it cost him a grand final. Now, I'm not a fan of him as a referee as such, right? But
I think you've been forthright in that this year.
yeah, well, he's not. I think he gets the big moments wrong. I think the bunker saves him.
Right.
Okay? Yeah, heaven forbid he's running the bunker this week. But we'll see how that goes.
I shouldn't have brought refs up, should I?
No.
Because, you know, when you're a kid,
But it is hard. It is
you'd
hard.
play footy after school down at the park.
Yeah.
We never had a ref.
Yeah. But the tough guy won the
Biggest bloke was the ref,
the biggest bloke was the referee.
He'd sorted it out, yeah.
Just on that, so who makes these decisions at the end of the season? Because, you know, if you're the NRL...
I'll
and
sit there. The NRL, mate, again...
They engage the coaches too,
It's a committee, and they get the coaches in.
Yeah.
And
Players?
this is-
Oh,
not
I'm
really.
not sure.
Not
No.
players. No, but this is the other problem. They'll get the coaches in, and half of the room doesn't like that half of the room of the coaches, right? That's one of the little hidden secrets of the game. Some coaches can barely stand being in the same room as other coaches.
Really?
Yeah. Now,
Can you name any names on that?
yeah, I could.
Yeah.
But anyway,
We'll come back.
we'll come back to that. Let me have a think about it. The problem is I'll name it and they'll go, oh, no.
Yeah, that's not
Someone
right.
will ask them about it. No, I don't have a problem with him. You know what I mean? But the problem is, if you win the comp, whoever wins the comp, if you win the comp by playing fast, quick footy, the coaches will sit down and they'll all try to implement rules or interpretations to be brought in to slow the game down. And so they'll slow the game down. You get more latitude to play the ball, ruck speed, all that sort of business. Then when a team wins the comp by just slowing it all the way down, that year they'll get together and they'll bring in rules to speed it up because they don't want this guy to keep winning again. Yeah? And the rules, I'll tell you how significant the rules are. When West Tigers won the comp in 2005, halfway through the year, they played Cowboys in the grand final. Not even halfway through the year. 6 games in, West were now near the bottom. And they had a subtle shift in interpretation of the rules. And they tried to quicken the game up mid-season, which is a shit thing to do. The 2 fastest teams that year were the Tigers and the Cowboys. It's not a coincidence that they were the grand finalists, given the way the rules were interpreted. And a lot of teams got caught on the hop because the new rules, they'd been trained for the way the rules were supposed to be interpreted. And when they changed the rules, they didn't have the squad there to adjust. Some coaches, I remember talking to them, they said, mate, it's going to take me 3 years to get the players under these rules, get the players in the club I need, because...
Change their body shape, etc., right?
And you need to go and get, well, look at the Tigers at the time. They had like Hodgson at fullback, like he's a whippet. Benji was a young whippersnapper just unleashed on the world. And they had all these young go-getter forwards. They weren't particularly big, but they were young and fit and fast. And the Cowboys were a similar club. Yeah, they had Jono Thurston running the joint, and they had Matt Bowen. They were a fast team. But the rules, the adjustment in the rules benefited both those teams. That's how significant it is. Then they changed the rules. They thought, we've made the game too fast. We need to slow it down a bit. Yeah.
Give me an example of a coach who you think in the modern game is the best at adapting and changing in the off season, like because these rules change year by year, right?
Mate,
and
they're all good.
All of a sudden, you go
They're
from a
all
wrestler to okay.
They're all good.
And you're not talking specifically about a coach because he has a coaching staff. Doesn't
Yeah,
he? Some clubs have got 3 coaches with their NRL experience on their coaching staff.
And some, like I spoke to Cameron Serrato for prime time last week. Sorry, earlier this week. And he was telling me they're already making changes in their staff heading into next season, given what changes they've seen be rewarded this year.
Their coaching staff you're talking
So
about?
the style of footy has changed this year.
Yep.
It's become less structured. It's become just more off the cuff footy. You're not sitting in shapes, and you're just getting there and you're going, right? And so you need less structure in your game. So he's changing his staff to recognise that. And other coaches, the Raiders, for example, they and I've spoken about, Mick Crawley is their attack coach, and he loves the second phase play. And the Raiders began the year, if you remember, they had all this second phase footy, which was just blew everyone apart. But then by halfway through the year, every team was flopping the ball out the back, and it's just because the Raiders were throwing some awful passes. But again, a bit like the six again argument, you come up and make a tackle, you just about think he's got him down.
Yeah.
The defensive line will start to retreat, so they're going backwards, and all of a sudden Joe Tarpany pops the ball out, and they're coming again at you. You've got to come again off the line again, and basically what that equates to is an extra tackle in the set that you've had to make, and that was fatiguing defences. And the Raiders did a really good job of that this year. They caught a lot of teams by surprise early, and that was a lot of their success was put down to the way they attacked. But certainly by halfway through the year, every other club had looked at it and said, boys, we need some more second phase. And Raiders went from being well in front on offloads to suddenly they started to go down the ladder a bit because, and I mean the ladder of offload, because of other teams were starting to catch up and recognise how effective it was.
One of the big things that fans talk about is the unevenness of the fixtures and, the draw, and how some teams get to play some teams. I mean, obviously going to 20 teams, we might go to a 20-round comp. I just want to ask you, because there's talk now that the schedule will be done by AI. And but what it needs to consider, obviously, is those big games, the Anzac Day games, the Easter Monday games. What do you think about the draw? Is it unfair, or is it, well, we don't know which team's going to come first?
I'd hate to be the bloke who has to put the draw together.
Well, I think they flicked those guys now. They're a Canadian company. I think they're now a US
put
company.
it in your phone now. Give us the draw for next year. Just go to ChatGPT or whatever it's called.
I suppose you highlight your main fixtures, and then
this is the difficulty of the draw, right? So every club is asked to put in their request for signature games. Roosters, South always play each other twice, right? Because it's such a big game for both clubs. So things like that, they're non-negotiables. We want Roosters, South want to play twice. There are other teams, Parramatta, Penrith, for example. Those
Anzac Day game for
Anzac
Dragons,
Day,
Roosters.
You've got to put the Anzac
Easter
Day.
Monday for Canterbury.
So you've got to put all those in there. The other thing that they do is when you have your, say, a Parramatta Canterbury game, which is generally a game that I think it still gets played twice. But what they do with that, West Tigers and Parramatta, one of their, what they do is they will put them on early in the season, because the theory being, if we're going to play them twice, we don't want to be playing the second game. South and Roosters is the only anomaly in this. We don't want to be playing them later in the season if they're already out of finals contention. So that's why you sit down and the team will play. Parramatta will play Penrith in round 3, and then they're playing again in round 9. Because
what do you think about that, though? You okay with that?
I don't think it matters. I don't care, mate. Look, I'm old enough, like Chimes is, and definitely you are. No, but I'm old enough to remember when the old 12-team comp and you played every team twice. I can remember that, okay? But the thing about all that is the game's too big for that now. And my only concern with it all, you can't play each other twice. There's 17 teams. That's 32 games, home and away. It's only 5 more than, it's 8 more than they're already playing, right? They play 24 games in a 27-round comp. But you can't play every team twice. So to sit down and continue to complain about it, I think we just got to grow up.
Move on.
The
We
clubs
just got to,
definitely submit a wish list.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do, and they
work
generally
towards
they
that as
get it.
best
That's
they
what makes it difficult.
can.
And part of that wish list is like we like to have a home and a game and away game against them, and they put it on early in the season because of essentially, while they're both theoretically you could still make the playoffs. You don't want to play them in round 24 when one team's running third and the other team's running 16th, because that'll affect your crowd. The only time that doesn't matter is Roosters South. They often like to put that on as the last game of the season, round 27. Okay, but that's why they do that. And you just this idea that it's unfair. Yes, it is. Deal with it. You know what I mean? Like these people getting their shits about it. It's, mate, it's never going to be fair anymore.
No.
It's never going to be fair for. But the other thing is this: when you talk about what's fair, what about when you're playing against a team that's busted with injuries?
From Origin or something.
Or for whatever, or players again, a team that's lost Origin players. That's not fair either. But if you've had 5 injuries, if you've got 5 blokes out on the sideline because they've, Broncos lost 3 blokes with a hamstring inside 20 minutes 6 weeks ago, right? So the team coming up against them the following week, we're going okay. That just happens. That's sport. But essentially, what you want is at the end of it, the best teams are at the top, and you can't argue that that's what happens.
Yeah.
Well, in spite of all that negative talk, you know, around those few things, the game is booming, right? It's never been bigger than it is. So how big can it get?
It's.
You'd
You'd love to think it could go global one day, but
you think that?
It won't be in our lifetime. But you'd never say never, depending on how quick you can get from one country to the other with travel and all those sorts of things. The flight to England from Perth now is 16 hours, I think.
Do you think the NRL buys Super League? Do you think that's the first step in that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd like to. If they bought it, they buy it cheap because it's not worth much at the moment.
Buy it for a ham sandwich.
Yeah, and then they'd have to resource it, and you know, they're certainly capable enough to buy it and make it work. But whether or not they want to do that, I don't know. Yeah.
You got any insight into that?
The NRL are keen, you know, and there's. I think there's movement over there from clubs, and in anticipation of the NRL buying it. But it's different over there than what it is here in Australia. Here in Australia, and maybe it's because we have AFL, which is another big football code. I know over there they've got soccer, okay, but because their clubs are so entrenched in those, and some of them are like little towns, like Warrington and comparatively, but they're not big cities in England and things like that, right? But the personality of the fan over there is, if you're a Warrington fan, you want Warrington to win, and you don't give a rat's about St Helens or Wigan or Huddersfield or any of those leads.
Or the game. Or the game.
The game as a whole.
Yep.
You don't care about the game as a whole. They care about their team, and they are madly passionate about their team. But we have this in Australia. Yeah, you love your team, but you want to see rugby league do well. You want to see rugby league crush AFL and crush rugby union.
You watch another 7 games a week, don't you? Even if your team's not playing.
Whereas there you go. So you're a Parramatta fan. You'll watch Parramatta play, but you'll watch Manly and South play, or the Roosters and Melbourne play, or whatever. Over there, you're a Huddersfield fan. You watch Huddersfield if they're on TV, because I don't think they put every game on over there.
No, I don't think so. No.
But they watch Huddersfield, and if Huddersfield aren't playing, they don't watch the rest of it.
Yeah, the league's growing. AFL I can't see being played globally ever.
It'll never be played globally.
But league, I think from a global perspective is still pretty much in its infancy. Rugby's played internationally, professionally in over 100 countries in the world. League, you've got Australia, England, France, and now the South Pacific. So it's growing, but and we've tried to crack America. So they're having a swing, but it's going to take a while.
How do you think they'll go in America? Because rugby's been trying there for 50 years.
Yeah.
They won't bake. Yeah, well, mate, I'm the opposite of all this. I couldn't give a rat's about all that stuff.
As long as we can go to Vegas one time a year.
But the league doesn't need America.
That's what I'm saying. I don't.
Probably being too kind, aren't we?
I don't buy into this. need for
Globalisation.
yeah, you know, and that satisfies, you know, and when, you know, particularly rugby people give me the shits, you know, it's only played on the east coast of Australia and northern England. Who gives a shit? Who cares? I don't care. It's like, I don't get the NFL's desire to go and conquer Europe and all that. They are a monster in American sport. They are by far the biggest sport in America. And they reap the benefit of that. And it's a terrific sport to watch. And I like watching NFL. Okay, a lot of people do. But I don't see the justification of NFL as a sport to be measured by its global participation or its global reach. And same as rugby league. I think the focus should be on the NRL, to just make the NRL competition like unmissable, which is starting to get to it. Like everyone gets upset when we want to bag other sports, right? But the AFL final series was a bit of a snore, right? Grand final was terrible, right? Only the bits I saw of it.
First and last quarter were terrible, yeah.
Well, there's half the game.
Yeah. Can I just ask you on that, Kenty? So pre-COVID, and PVL obviously had a lot to do with this, but let's try and talk about something else. Pre-COVID, the NRL was in trouble, right? Super League in the UK was going to steal all our players, and then we had COVID, and now we seem to have gone to this next level where AFL appears within our circles, we're rugby league circles, of course, but it appears that it's no longer a threat. You agree with that or not?
Oh, I think the Volandis era changed things, didn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, and the commission,
So
they
at
knocked
the
things
highest
into
level.
shape, started spending money wisely and investing and growing the game.
So the game always had the games. What do they call it? Their directive or their charter was rugby league was a non-profit game. So the charter or their, what do they call that? Their whatever.
Yeah,
it
we
is,
know what you mean. Yeah.
was whatever money they made, they had to put straight back into the investment of the game. So that's why there's never any money there. And this has been a bit sneaky of the NRL, right? And that was it. And they had to put money into the grassroots or pathways or wherever they had to put it. But if they had $10 million sitting in the bank at the end of the year from all the receipts, they had to put $10 million back out into the game. But then COVID changed it, because when COVID shut the game down, the game was vulnerable.
They're almost broke, right?
Well, they were going to go broke. That's why. So what no one knows, and this is where Peter Volandis really did save the game. So Todd Greenberg and McLaughlin, was it Gil McLaughlin or?
He's from AFL, yeah.
AFL.
The AFL boss?
Yeah, Gil, yeah.
They had a private phone hookup and they agreed to both suspend their competitions. Then what happened was they agreed to suspend it and they wouldn't look at coming back until about September, I think was the advice or whatever. Okay. Now, the AFL played Todd, because the AFL had Marvel Stadium, they had all these assets. They had enough money to keep all the clubs ticking until they came back. The NRL sat down, and Volandis sat down and looked at the books. And if you remember, I remember Canterbury was one club said, mate, they put some staff off and they said, mate, we're not going to make it. Right? I don't know if they said that publicly, but they certainly said it privately. Right? They thought, and Canterbury was one club, mate, how are we going to make it? Like, they have a great
With a
leagues
super
club.
big leagues club, yeah.
But as a club, they were struggling. The leagues club didn't want to. Anyway, that's all
Yeah,
the
get
politics
it.
of
Yeah.
it all, right?
Yeah.
But Volandis looked at it and he said, mate, if we sit down and do nothing until September, we'll come back and we'll have about a 5 or 6 team comp, because all the other clubs will have gone broke, just paying salaries, right? So that's when Volandis said, mate, we're not doing this. And Todd said, no, we've agreed with the AFL. Volandis said, no, we're not. And that's when he put that, was it Project Apollo? He put them together, put Wayne Pearce in charge of it, and said, mate, he did the maths for Volandis. He said, mate, you're coming back May 28,
Yeah.
right? And they said, righto. So Wayne Pearce went off with these people in Project Apollo, a couple of coaches on board. Coaches always think about themselves. They come there, Volandis, Pearce rang up Volandis and said, mate, we put it together, we're going to do it. We're not coming back May 28. They need because if they can't get together, they need another mini pre-season. Only coaches would say this. They need another mini pre-season, so we want to go 4 weeks. We want to come back last week of June, first week of July. And Valenius goes, no, mate, you don't get it. He said, we won't have 16 clubs come back then. We'll be broke. He said, you're coming back May 28. So he said, so go back to your committee, tell them it's non-negotiable, they're coming back May 28. And what you've got to do is figure out how you get from here to be ready to play May 28. So that's what they did. And they went back again. And to be fair, every club was in the same boat. It's not like some clubs were able to go off and train together. Other clubs weren't. Every club was in the same boat. And that was it. May 28, you're coming back. So when he came back, May 28, he saved, that saved the game, right? But what they got out of that was the lesson was, they said, mate, we've got no assets. We've got nothing to insure us if anything like this happens again. So when the money started to come in then, they went out and they bought, Gambaros and that's the hotel up in
pub up in Brisbane,
so
Caxton Street.
Buying all these
I think it's called Arties or something. Yep.
Right, they start buying all these assets and basically investing a lot of it, and that's the safeguard against it. But you talk about how big can the game get if they don't start doing something about pathways and the grassroots footy, because it is not going well, and at some point there'll be a quality drop off. Because you're going to miss all those players like rugby union has done when it burned all its juniors. Rugby union misses the late bloomers now because they identify kids at 12 and they take them all the way through. But the kid who can't play at 12 but turns out to be a superstar by the time he's 20, he's long gone. He's left the game. And rugby league will go the same way if some of that money's got to go back into the pathways and grassroots. And what they've got to do is they've got to get that cash. And I would start saying to players on retirement, mate, go out. We will pay you to go out and captain coach at Wee War. We'll captain coach Orange United Hawks. You know what I mean? Go and captain coach those teams. And the NRL should fund those teams to bring that sort of that development back in through traditional areas. Because at the moment they're all dying.
I want to come back to that because it's a big topic. But before that, you mentioned about committees, and I want to ask you, Chimes, and you need to be careful, obviously, because you deal with all the committees, right? But I want to ask you, what's the difference between, because there's a lot of fans out there whose teams are in the bottom half of the bottom half every single year. So you spoke to Frank Panisi from the Storm. You know, obviously they're a club which continually win.
Yeah.
So what's the difference between them and a club which underperforms?
I don't think it's rocket science. I think it's good management, common sense, good people, hard work.
But every club, if you ask them, every club would say we've got those.
Yeah, but every club's not right.
Yeah.
Mate, it's like clubs have this, mate, we've got a no dickhead policy. Until you need the dickhead. Until you need him.
Yeah.
Then they try and, he's not that bad a bloke.
A little bit, but it was very strong.
It was, yeah.
When our bad boys would play for 6 clubs, 7 clubs, and so that's enough, no more,
Yeah.
But look, recruitment, retention, coaching, development, it's not that hard. And if you look at the best teams, the teams that are alive now and were alive throughout the semi-final series, they're the clubs that are run the best. And you get rewarded for running your business well. And it might mean that when you're offered a player and you think we should pay $1 million for him, but he's only worth 700, don't pay the $1 million. Say no. Smallest word in the dictionary, hardest word to say. So you need good management, and people like Frank Panisi and those, are the best at it.
Yeah, they have the discipline to say. Yeah, I remember talking to Des when he was at Canterbury. No, so I was talking to Todd about Des when he was at Canterbury.
Greenberg.
Todd Greenberg.
Yeah.
Todd was the CEO of Canterbury at the time. And he's talking about how easy it is to work with Des. Probably the first and last time that's ever been said. Right, I like Des, but yeah. But like Des is demanding. But Des is very good at quite a few things. But what he would say to Todd was, mate, we need this guy. You got to sign him. Todd would say, what's he worth? And he'd say, Des would be like, mate, if you can get him for 500, get him. If you've got to go to 550, go to 550. If you can get him for 450, beautiful. So Todd would go in and say, mate, give you 450. His manager would come in and say, mate, we want 600. And they'd negotiate. But Des had already given Todd an idea where in the cap he needed to fall to make the deal. And so when you've got that idea and that discipline to stick to that, because there's like you look at the David Fafita signing, right? He's about to go to South, by the way. Have you got him?
No.
Well, anyway, but you look when he signed at the Titans, they paid far too much for him, and everybody in rugby league knew it. Everybody in rugby league knew they paid too much for him, but they got in an ego contest because they wanted to sign him. And when he didn't look like he was going to go because he wanted to stay at Brisbane, they came in with just stupid money to just say we got him, and then they tried to preach this bullshit about he sees the vision we've got here at the club. The vision had zeros on it. That's the only thing he saw, right? And that's no knock on Fafita. He did the right thing for himself. He took money that no other club was prepared to go near that the Titans offered him. And if you're offering a deal that no other club wants to go near, then you're making a bad deal. That's obvious. The fact that the other clubs won't even go anywhere near the money that you're prepared to pay a bloke must tell you you're doing a bad deal.
But if you're one of the bottom clubs, what do, right? Because fans are screaming about your poor
I'll tell you what you do, right? You look at West Tigers. West Tigers get 2 years into a 5-year plan every time and start again. Now, if they'd said 11 years ago, or 12 years ago when they last made the finals and things were looking a bit sketchy, if they'd said, you know what, we're going to put some emphasis into our pathways and bring players through. Well, look at the players they did bring through. Pappenhausen, Tedesco. It was, they let Pappenhausen go to prioritise Tedesco. By the end of that year, they were both gone. And if West had stuck with the plan back then and stuck with it, they wouldn't still be where they are.
You got to be patient. If
they've got no patience.
If you lose your patience, you go back 2 steps.
So is that the CEO, the board?
That's everyone.
It's a collective, sure.
Serraldo said that the other day about Penrith. He said, look, Penrith won the last 4 grand finals. He said, but that started 12 years ago. The preparation for those 4 grand finals started 12 years ago. And they had the patience as a club to recognise what they were doing and to stick with the plan.
Yeah, you don't have to be patient for 10 years or 7 years or 5 years. You'll see the improvement pretty rapidly. As long as you're patient and have the work processes around what needs to be done, there's no excuse for not climbing the ladder. I find it hard to believe a team can be, with a salary cap and the way the clubs are funded, I find it hard to believe a team could sit on the bottom for a long period of time. There's something terribly wrong.
I mean, then you look at the Melbourne Storm, who have Bellamy and, been there for 23 years, made the finals 22 years, made the grand final 11. So the coach has to have a major
for sure,
major part of that.
It's a collective, but good coaching, good people.
But the coach is also the one responsible for implementing the system from the NRL squad all the way down at most clubs. The clubs that generally don't perform or have any sort of sustained success are clubs where the coach doesn't really care too much about what's happening at jersey flag level.
100%. There's pressure from boards. There's pressure on coaches. So coaches, look for a quick fix or whatever, and they're spending the club's money knowing they may not well be there the year after next or the next year. So you need good leadership and good management to give you the right direction.
So you applaud clubs that give stability to the coach and back the coach and say, yep.
You've got to support your coach if you appoint your coach. Too many coaches get sacked. It's unbelievable. They're the scapegoat. They're the first to go at the coach. But why? We don't sack the board, or we don't sack anyone else. Coach goes first. If the coach loses the players completely, and when a coach has lost the group, then there's a reason for sacking. But we've got coaches get sacked. It's funny how we give coaches, we give them, when they first sign a team, we say, oh, he's just inherited that squad, so we'll give him a couple of years, I
don't cop that.
No.
He's got to turn the roster over, they say.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, but that's bullshit. You're getting a job because
do something.
The previous bloke couldn't do the job with this roster. Now, whether you like it or not, you're there to win with that roster. You're being brought in. If you're going to take 3 years, may as well leave the bloke in for
we're not asking him to win the comp after 3 years. We want to see some improvement.
Yeah.
So what about this he's finally got his team?
That's
Bullshit.
bullshit. 'Cause you're supposed to be a coach or a coach. Anyone can coach the best players.
Yeah, good point.
You know what I mean? You give me the Melbourne squad and put me up. Oh, seriously, and you send me out against Dapto A grade, right? I'll win the game. I can't coach, but I'll win the game because I've got the best players.
With your junior recruitment and development and pathways, your undercarriage should always be ready to bubble. You know, at every club there should be something there ready to go. You know.
Yeah, and some clubs, mate, they got no idea.
What about private ownership in clubs? Because some of the clubs are privately owned. Do you think that's the way of the future, or you think?
You planning something, was?
What's that?
Are you planning something?
I wouldn't mind actually, but I'm a few. I'm a couple short.
Right.
There's an exclusive.
Just sell a pub.
There's an
sell
exclusive.
one of those pubs.
There's
You'll be
an
right.
exclusive for you. No, because the leagues clubs have come back, right? Leagues clubs, not all clubs have leagues clubs, but leagues clubs are more powerful and making more money than ever. And rugby league clubs are all of a sudden, as a result of the latest broadcast deal, previous one, are profitable. So the emphasis on leagues clubs getting rid of that expense is no longer really there like it was at one stage when they went private. Do you think more clubs will become private, or do you think this is how it'll stay?
Well, they're going to cost a lot more nowadays. If the NRL are giving you $17 million a year kickstart, you know, what's a club worth now?
I don't think that'll become private, mate. The thing for it to become private is the members have got to vote for that. Why would the members vote to make their club private? Particularly now, like South Sydney did it. Like, you know, don't get me started on that, but South sold their soul, South fans, right, to go to private ownership. Now, they only fell in by about, I think it was 38 votes they fell in by, right? But greatest mistake the club ever made.
38 total votes.
38 total votes in however many thousand.
Wow.
Right? They had to get 75%. It was like 75 point something %. Right? But sold their soul. And they'll never understand what they sacrificed for that. But they did it, and they did it in highly unusual circumstances when there was it was a bit of a furphy going around that the club was going broke. They demonised George Piggins, which was disgraceful, and a lot of people got something to answer for there. But they did that, and it's so in highly unusual circumstances, the members voted to go privately owned. Now, though, what's changed, though, is the salary cap and the grant has changed. Back then, I think, look, these figures could be wrong, but I think back then you got about 75% of the salary cap. And then when the commission era came in 2014, I think it was, part of that was the annual grant was 130% of the salary cap. So you're getting given through the broadcast money, you're getting given more than what the players cost, and you get another 30% on. See, essentially the NRL is paying for your salary cap and giving you 30% more to spend around your club. And as the salary cap grows, that 30% grows. You can't lose money. If you lose money now as a rugby league club, you are a moron. Right, you are a moron. Now it'll happen.
It shouldn't happen.
Yeah, because we do have a capacity to find the odd moron, right? But that's the reality of it. Back then, you got less, so you had to pay the players. You got your grant, and then you still had to find more money to pay the players. Then you had to pay your staff and do all that. So there's a lot more pressure on you financially to find money.
But the sell to the fans is private investor will put in more money.
You still got a salary cap was. You can't. But see, that's what all fans care about is. Well, tell us how we're going to win the comp.
Yeah.
And that's what Russell Crowe led with. Yeah. If you remember, I don't want to win the comp every year. I just want to win the comp every second year. And they all went, yay. They won it once, right, in that time. But the thing about it is you could still only, more money doesn't mean much more because, Elon Musk could come in and buy an NRL team. He can still only spend the salary cap. You know what I mean? And now you get your government to build your high performance
stadiums
center
high performance
and your stadiums. So what do you need all this? Well, it's not like overseas sports that are all privately owned.
Game starts in 2. Got to be quick.
You need something quick? I got something blistering. 5 for 25 from PointsBet. It's like hot sauce, but for sport. 5 taps and it's on.
Yeah, that's hot.
Aw, thanks, babe.
5 for 25. Only available on PointsBet. Yeah, that's built different.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
All right, let's look at who's travelling hot this week heading into the grand final. I really like Kenty Staggs. He scored in 4 of his last 5 games. So he's on a bit of a streak at the moment. Multi all up with him into Will Warbrick. Now, Will Warbrick hasn't been around for a while, but obviously he's just recently back from injury. But in his last 5 games against the Broncos, he's scored 7 times. He's got tall timber on the wing. They definitely go to him. They like going to him and taking advantage of his height. So Kenty Staggs, Will Warbrick, anytime try scorer, multi, 475, points bet, built different.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
Talk to me about the fans, because the fans, you mentioned the fans there. How much do we have to thank the fans in
I'm
NRL?
a fan of the fans, Woz.
Yeah.
I like the fans.
Yeah.
I like referees too. That's not a bit of a conflict there.
You got to say that though. Yeah.
I think these people sit in the rain, pay to get in, wear their jumper with pride, live week to week, to save their money to go to a game, take their kids to the game, introduce their family to the game. Work starts better on a Monday if their team's won on a Sunday.
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan of the fans. I love the. I don't know whether we can do more for the fans. But
I think we can.
I think they deserve enormous respect. Fans of the game.
How can we do better for the fans?
I know. I think they're pretty switched on. A lot of the fans too.
Yeah, but I think it's too much to go to the footy. Right, take a family these days. See, what the AFL is very good at is they made game day a habit. So you just woke up Saturday and just knew you were going to the footy.
Home and away, right? Because they're within Melbourne, really.
Well, yeah, but look, okay, it's changed a little bit as the game's grown, right?
Yeah.
But the AFL did a very good job of just that was just what you did. You woke up Saturday morning. There was no, what are we doing today? You just knew you were going to the footy.
There's not much more to do in Melbourne, though.
Yeah,
having said
we
that.
can put out all the old jokes, but but the NRL, I don't know what it would cost to take a family of 4 to the footy all year long, all season long. It would be significant though. It'd be tens of thousands, you reckon?
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
It'd be a lot of money because even I go to Leichhardt games. It's generally the only game I go to as a fan, right? And this is the fan day experience at Leichhardt. And this is why they're just warriors, those people, the Tigers fans, right? They are. Mate, they turn up. They have this love for this ground that's born out of the fact that it was a maligned ground, because of all of the amenities and all the rest of it. And out of that, it's like this defiance, this, it's the eighth wonder of the world. You know what I mean? That's their attitude to it. But you go watch a Tigers game, if you want to get in line to buy a beer, you're in line for at least 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Righto? If you want to then go to the bathroom, you're in line for probably 15 minutes. Right? And even then, the bath, like the toilet facilities around the hill and all that, are basically demountables.
Prehistoric.
Right? There's not enough bar facilities. So you sit there, you have 2 beers, you've missed more than half the game. Standing in line. Now, you can get a spot sometimes and still watch the game, but you're not there with your mates.
But they do it.
But they do it. Yeah, they do it. And they put up with it. It's bullshit. You shouldn't have to sit there and line up for 50 minutes.
Yeah.
And even then when you go, it's a 4-can limit. So if you sit there with 5 mates, right, 2 of you got to go and stand in line. So there's all these archaic rules.
But Kenty, you can't, like, for example, on the weekend, I went to the New South Wales.
That's on West Tigers. West Tigers should fix that.
Yeah.
I'd like Shane Richardson to go out and stand in the bloody on the hill one day as a fan and actually sit there and experience what it's like away from the corporate boxes. And I'm not saying this is an attack on Richo as such, but as the CEO of that club. And the board should get out of there, off their fat bums as well, and get out there and get amongst the bloody fans and see what it's like to stand in line for 25 minutes to have a beer.
You need better facilities at that ground.
Well, but mate, it's easy to fix. Just no one's complaining that the toilets are demountables. Just get more. You know what I mean? And open up more bars. Get big beer tubs full of ice, and have someone just standing there so you can walk up and say, mate, give us three cans of whatever, and off you go. Like, there's just not enough there. When Marina Go was the chairwoman of Tigers, our game at Campbelltown, the turnstiles broke down, right? So only one gate was open.
Just open the gates, let everyone in.
So what, no, 20 minutes into the game, they're still lined up to get in. She took a photo and said, how great are Tigers fans? Game's 20 minutes old, they're still lining up to get in. Like, you idiot.
You know, you talk about cost. I went to the New South Wales Cup grand final. Anyway, grand final out at Combank. It cost me $10 to get in plus $7.95 ticket tech. $17 or $18. I don't know why they just didn't open the gates. Just open the gates for New South Wales Cup.
Yeah. What about a fan-free day for an NRL next year where everyone can go for free?
It's too much money, mate.
You'd lose too much?
Well, that's what the argument against it. Oh, look, I don't care. I think great.
What about half-price day? Something.
Mate, you know what? Make every game free. Let them all go. Mate, they get enough out of TV.
Well, in the Bundesliga, right, in football over in Germany, the ticket prices are ridiculously cheap, right? And they fill it, and it's all about the crowd experience. I mean, it's not so long ago. Maybe it is long ago because I'm old. But when I was growing up, remember they used to give you the free passes if you played footy as a kid? And everyone used to go for free if you were under
they stopped that.
15 or 16.
I remember when they stopped that. It was 10, 15 years ago now. And, mate, it was an almighty shit fight. I had so many fathers ringing me up. So, mate, can you believe it? How cheap? Like, my kid always got a pass into the game, and they don't get it. And again, but that's where your love for the game starts. When you're 8 years old and you're in your footy jersey and you've got you just dropped your hot dog.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's where it starts.
And you sit on the hill with your dad or your mates.
That's a habit-forming behaviour that I said the AFL have got right, through years and years and years of just repeating it. And we price ourselves out of it.
Can you remember the first footy game you went to?
Yeah. It was my first go, Parramatta West, at Lidcombe Oval.
How old were you?
I was 7 years old, 78.
I went to 73 grand final. I was 10.
That's your first game.
First grand final. I would have gone to the footy before then, but that's definitely my first grand final.
You know what I remember? I remember this is still vivid. Parramatta come running out. Ray Price come out rolling the shoulders. Right, and I remember Tommy coming out with Dallas, and mate, it was like there was drums beating. You know what I mean? Like they came out, and you could see Dallas and Tommy that they just wanted to fight. You know what I mean? I just remember thinking they're covered in Vaseline and the aggression and all that. And I just
73 was the Cronulla Manly bloodbath.
You know, that was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. Yeah,
that was just like a fight, and every now and then they played a bit of footy.
Yeah, foot brawl.
Yeah, Cliffy Watson.
Yeah,
remember
Peters. Yeah,
Cliffy Watson. Before that game, when they ran out in the field and they did a bit of a warm up, they're all warming up, and as they're panning around the field, all the players are warming up, just having a stretch and a bit of short, sharp sprints and all that sort of stuff that they used to do. Cliffy Watson's just like this, leaning against the goalpost, just watching them all. He's a prop for Cronulla.
Good player.
Old Poppy player. Yeah. He was a champ. He came on 360 one night with us. Right. He was unreal.
So we're hearing PVL is tossing up now. He's got potentially of leaving one of his jobs, whether that's at Racing New South Wales or NRL.
I'll leave that one to you, Kenny. You'd probably know more, but obviously it's been mooted, hasn't it?
Where did you hear that?
I think it's been reported a few times.
Papers, hasn't it?
Look, there's a bit going on there. I don't know how much of this is.
Am I correct? Does he just get paid like an honorarium from the NRL?
He's on about 300 as the chairman of the NRL.
Right.
He'd be on over $1 million as a chief executive of Racing New South Wales. If I was going to hypothesise, here's one for you. I tend to think he might leave Racing New South Wales, stay in his job as the chairman of the NRL and run the his new job will be running the Brisbane Olympic Committee.
Ooh.
There's a scoop.
There's a scoop for you, yeah. I think it's going around. Whether it eventuates.
You went to his wedding, Kenty, didn't you?
I went to his wedding, yeah. I was
So you're
about
pretty close to him?
6 or 7 or something like that. That was a long time. I reckon I've known him pretty much longer than anyone in rugby league around the game. But yeah, back when he was running the trots in New South Wales, he, Brian Brown, he's very close with Brian Brown. Brian Brown couldn't make the night, so Rachel Ward
The
got
actor?
up and made
Yeah,
the actor.
yeah.
Rachel Ward, is Brian Brown's wife, got up and made the speech. So there you go.
At the wedding.
Yeah. I
Wow.
went to school with his cousins too. They were at the table next to me at the wedding.
Yeah, awesome.
But
Big
yeah,
wedding?
no, I think there's a bit of a I think there's a bit going on there. He had a bad loss PVL with the when they failed to sell Rosehill Racecourse.
Yeah.
And it really split the racing community. And
Big
I
falling
think-
out with some big
I
influential
think,
members,
yeah,
right?
there was a falling out there that I don't think will be or can be resolved.
Right.
And when you generally, the corporate world in sport can be quite poisonous at times. Yeah, I've not spoken to him about this, so let me just clarify that. I've not. So this is just what I've heard around the traps.
Well, you know the man. Why would he do that? Was it the challenge he'd go to Brisbane?
Because he's an animal, mate.
Yeah.
He's an animal, and mate, he'll be unreal. He's exactly the sort of person you would want running your organising committee. To basically, mate, this stadium needs to be built, it needs to be done, and if it's been delayed for whatever reason, he will go in. Why is it being delayed? What needs to be done to get you back on track? Okay, well, let's do it. That's the way he operates.
People call him a bully, right? But
well,
that's,
he's, I don't know. He can be a bully, but or is he just authoritative? You know what I mean? Like, depends on, everyone's a bully these days, like police.
If he was not threatening, but on the verge of leaving the NRL, what's he worth to the NRL in wages as a package?
I think he should. I would. Yeah, I would.
What would you pay him?
I'd give him $1 million to be. I'd make him the CEO. If he ever threatened to leave and it was because of.
Well, what's he worth? Is he worth 3-4 million to the NRL a year as a wage, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. Given how well he negotiates, because that's the other thing. Whenever, like Abdo sits down with the Players Association, can't get the deal done. He sits down with the broadcasters, can't get the deal done in all of it. Now, Valandis is very complimentary towards Abdo, and he'll say things like, "Oh, Andrew softened him up and got him ready. I just came in and closed it off or whatever." But no, if you actually know the way they've all been going, like generally you're at a stalemate, and no, it's not. We can't agree. So Valandis goes in and just, okay, what's the stumbling block? What needs to be done? Okay, well, let's fix that. And fixes it.
can the NRL afford to lose PVL?
Oh, but yes, they can, because they'll always survive.
Right.
Right?
He'd be a
It'll
big
always
loss.
survive without him. But they'll do a lot better while he's there.
yeah.
That's the so look, he loses the game, the game's not going to fall over. But they're in a better place when he's there.
Well,
He'd be a tremendous CEO. I just don't know if the game could afford to pay him.
hopefully we get this broadcast deal done before he leaves. There's a new collective
It will. He's already
bargaining,
started.
bargaining agreement on the table coming up. The salary cap at the moment is 11.5, I think, plus a little bit here and there. Where will the salary cap end up, do you think, with the new broadcast deal?
Depends on what they
deal.
get.
20?
Yeah. Sky's the limit, but
Depends what they get.
as Kenny said before, putting money back into grassroots, the expansion of the women's game, looking after the bush.
And that's the other thing too that's annoying is whenever they do a deal, and they've done this the last couple of broadcast deals, is they're always promising to go and finish up grassroots and go back out into the bush footy and fix that up and go back to investing in that. But they always get to we're going to give the money to the players because the players
And the clubs.
and the clubs,
Yeah.
and we're just catching up on what they've missed out on earlier deals, which is just a narrative now. I think they've spun for the last 3 broadcast deals, and meanwhile, there's too many clubs in the bush that are just bleeding.
Well, talk to me about the bush. How do they fix the bush?
Mate, one, you got to invest. Look, one thing AFL does again really well. Yeah, AFL. Yeah, I think. Yeah, there's a bush town without me naming it. Yeah, the main ground in the middle of the town was the rugby league ground. The AFL ground was full of rocks and bloody.
It's flipped. Eh?
It's flipped now. You go in there, the AFL got the main ground. The rugby league one's been pushed out the side, and rugby league's let that happen.
Yeah.
And partly is, and you talk to the people. It's not because the people aren't passionate out there about their club. They just don't have the funding. AFL coming in and they're spending. AFL have taken this approach, and it shits me, right? That they're planning to be the number one code in 20 years. Now they've already been 20 years into that plan. So, but that's their strategy. It's like Penrith's playing roster. Penrith's got kids 12 years old, 14 years old now who, okay, sign him up. And AFL have got this philosophy or strategy that they're doing long-term planning for the game. And what part of that is, again, it was Demetrio when he was the boss, right? He basically went with a wartime strategy, right? Like a proper war, which is we've got to go over the hearts and minds, and we're going to go after their land. That's how you win a war, and that's what he's done with rugby league. They made a purposeful decision when Demetrio was the CEO that they would go into all these rugby league strongholds in the bush and around New South Wales and Queensland. And they would go to the councils and they say, mate, give us that ground. We will pay for the groundkeeper.
We'll put the lights up.
We'll put the lights up.
Yep.
We'll put new toilet facilities in.
I mean, they've done that at Drummoyne Oval just down the road.
Yeah,
they put the lights in. They did.
They've done it everywhere.
It's not only the bush.
I wrote a column. I wrote a column in 1994, right? And the column was, and I talked to Kari. Kari was the boss of the ARL at the time. The AFL was spending $6 million a year on development in country New South Wales and country Queensland. The ARL was spending 1.5. Now, back then, AFL was a much smaller footprint than what rugby league was. And I rang Kari about it. I said, mate, you're getting
Jeff Carr, that is for
Jeff Carr, who's the ARL CEO at the time.
Yep.
Or it might have been chairman at the time. He was the chairman, wasn't he?
Yeah, either or.
Either or. Anyway, I rang Kari about it, and I said, mate, you're getting outspent 4-1 here by AFL. He said, Kenny, AFL will never be a threat up here. He said, they're wasting their money. So that was the nonchalance of the ARL at the time. The AFL will never be a threat. They're wasting. But, mate, they're not. They're not. And they are getting bigger and bigger. And as a game in rugby league, we are allowing it to happen.
Well, you had that conversation earlier on in the year with Ben Eichen, and there, it got a little bit fiery between you two about, you know.
Did you get fired up?
No, Ben got fired up.
Right.
Ben got fired because I said country, grassroots is dying.
Yeah.
He started throwing all these figures at me.
Yeah.
Look, bugger, I'm going to give him up. A little bit of salt and pepper put on those.
Doesn't take much.
Look, I wasn't armed with figures, right? He started hitting figures at me, which is his job as the CEO of Queensland Rugby League, right? But I maintain that the bush football is,
we've got to fuel the engine.
Look, part of their stats with how their numbers are growing, they include touch football now because they own touch football, so they include that. They've got women's numbers which are growing at exponential rates, but it's coming off a very low base because 10 years ago there wasn't women's competitions anywhere.
Yeah,
right?
So
they are coming off a low. So there are arguments against what I was saying, but I'm not going to open that old wound. But
Chimes, quick question: you don't know where you need to go, do you?
Well,
no. I'm enjoying the chat, so let's keep going.
No, I'm here for you.
You're a busy man at the moment,
Giving
so
back.
I just want to, mate, talk to me about giving back. Talk to me about players. Will they get $2 million in the next broadcast deal? Do you think?
Oh, if the cap goes up, we'll no doubt see $2 million players. I think pretty hard not to give Nathan Cleary a couple of million if the cap's
Absolutely.
16 million. Yeah. If they're getting 1.5 now,
A couple of players within your team, I would think, would get.
They have to be game breakers, game managers, game changers. They'd have to be the best, but depends what the cap is. But I can see players in the NRL getting $2 million. Do you think that's fair?
Well,
Inevitable.
Well, it's inevitable at some point there'll be a $2 million player. Like the $1 million barrier is broke some years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got look, all power to them. Earn as much as you can. But there's just, for my thing, is there's got to be a set proportion that the players earn. And I don't cop the argument so much that some people try to spin as in, well, we're the players, we're the people.
We're the stars, you mean?
Yeah, no, we're the ones that bring in the money, so we
Yeah.
should get the lion's share of it. Okay, yes, in one respect, yes, that's true. But if you took, what is there now, 30 players, 17 teams, let's say 510 players, right? If you took that 510 players, put them all on a boat and sent them to China and they never came back, and you had to pick the next 500 players, yeah, the footy wouldn't be as good, but they're still going to put on these jerseys. They're still going to have the same fans following them, the same fans watching them, and a large proportion, the footy might not be as good, but a large proportion of that money is still going to be there. So as individuals, these guys are not individually responsible for that money. The game is, the clubs are, the collective is.
Chimes, is that the opposite to what you tell a CEO, though? Surely you're saying, well, this person is what makes the club.
Oh, and I think you've got to be reasoned enough to understand that it's more than just the player. And the players do get a good percentage of the pie. But, talking about fueling grassroots and managing businesses and development and staff and all those things, it's a big engine, rugby league. It's not just the players. And without, as Kenny says, players can be replaced. Why is that boat going to China?
Well, I was going to say I was going to go off and sink off the coast, but I thought that's
Right.
I changed halfway through. China's the first thing that came to mind.
It's always a slow boat to China, isn't it?
Slow boat to China, yeah. But
Look, I think the players accept that they get a fair piece of the pie.
Okay.
The RLPA's job is to get them as much as they can, but also to protect the game. And I think the players understand that. So, you can't have a game with just players. So much more goes into the game of rugby league than just the lead act. So I think they get that.
If the players get that, why are they considering going to a rebel competition, a rugby competition in a different format, as in R360?
A player who's off contract can go and play lawn bowls if he wants, or he can go play cricket, or he can go and play.
But is it the
AFL.
cash or is it the challenge?
hello.
Well, I've got to.
Look at this. Look at this.
Look,
So let's just. Can we just?
I would use the word opportunity before I define the word cash.
Right.
It's an adventure. Players switch codes. Players go and play in Europe and France.
Yeah, go and play in rugby in LA is going to really.
Players go and play rugby in Japan. They play in France. What's the big deal?
Well,
slow week.
Hey, so, but just for transparency purposes, do you manage Ryan Pappenhausen? Your company?
Well, I'll just clarify, Paul, so that you understand, right? So our company manages both league and union players.
Yes.
I am not accredited in rugby union.
Right.
I've had. I'll get to that. I've had absolutely zero communication with R360.
Yep.
I haven't done a Zoom. I haven't spoken to any officials. I don't know who they are.
Right.
I haven't spoken to any of our players about R360, right? I'm not accredited in rugby. Clinton Shevkovsky, my business partner, is accredited in rugby. We look after players who play for the Wallabies, very high-profile players. And I think it's well documented that there's a chance of a new competition coming about.
Apparently got confirmed Tuesday night.
Look, an email confirming that they'd got an amount of money to propel the project, I understand, came through. I haven't seen the email. I don't know. But, when's it start? What teams are in? Who's
September
the coaches?
next year.
Who's coaching who?
I don't
What
know.
team? See, we don't know.
I know that.
I think everyone's getting a little bit excited, and it hasn't happened yet. I'm not saying
Money
it's
does
not
that
going to
people,
happen.
though. Money does it because they're talking.
Mate, they're entitled
Aren't
to
they
start
talking
up a
$3 million
competition.
for Lomax, aren't they?
Well,
$3
again,
million for Lomax, $900,000 for
Look,
Jai Gray.
no disrespect to whoever's floating those numbers, but they're number plucks, mate. They're number plucks. They're $3,900,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chimes, I don't think, and look, I'm a fan, right? I don't think anyone should have an issue with a player agent. You know, yourself, Clinton. I don't understand why the angst. You know, I heard a bit of that last night on TV. I thought that was bullshit. I think that's just, mate, you're doing your job. You're trying to get people opportunities. I don't agree with that. And I don't disagree with players chasing other opportunities. I think if they're contracted and the club can do a deal, fair enough. I heard on the weekend, and we spoke about it on Blitz, and I spoke to some rugby players who are very well connected. And many of the Wallabies have signed, as far as I was told on the weekend. And there will be a situation coming up where World Rugby has the nations together and will say these players are banned from the Rugby World Cup. I think it's a poor decision by World Rugby. I think it's a short-term idea. I believe Australian Rugby should go for it and say, you know, boys, go and make your money elsewhere, come back and play for the Wallabies. Do you ever think that would happen in rugby league or not? Or you think once these guys, I mean, people are saying they should be banned for life. That's bullshit, isn't it? Like, you look at Sonny Bill Williams, he came back.
I think World Series cricket's another example,
right,
where players went and were told they'd never play again. That was defeated in court. I think Tony Greig was one of the players who challenged it. So
pack a back rolling.
Look, I don't. Again, if a player's off contract, he's entitled to do whatever he likes. In relation to speculation that an agent would induce or entice or encourage a player to break a contract, I can only speak on behalf of myself and our company. That's not the way we do business. So that won't be happening.
But contracts get written with break clauses, right?
Some might, yeah, but some mightn't. But there may be instances where a player wants to go to R360, has a contract with an NRL club. My understanding and belief would be that player should honour his NRL contract.
Thing is, though, and this is the thing that gets overlooked by everybody. A contract's there for a very basic reason and has a very basic role, which is to protect the interests of both parties. So I will do a job for you and you will pay me this amount, is essentially how a footy contract works. If, for whatever reason, a player wants to get out of that and go to R360, he simply goes to the club, and if the club says, mate, fine, we understand.
We've got a tight salary cap. It suits us as well.
They're happy to let you go.
We see clubs every day tapping players on the shoulder who are under contract, saying, "Hey, mate, if you can find something else, you're free to go."
And that's I've sort of changed my opinion a lot on all this now as I've got older and hopefully smarter,
wiser.
Mate, because you just, I used to sit there and be very protective of the game. And so when someone wanted to leave the game, I could understand, mate, ban him, don't let him back in, all that. But, mate, the game has let itself down so often. At the Chimes point, the amount of clubs now that tap a player on the shoulder and say, mate, look, if you can find elsewhere, and I know, in fact, that, look at Greg Eastwood some years back. Canterbury said to him, they back-ended his deal. Right, he went like 200, 400, 750 in his 3-year deal. So his last year was 750. Far too much for him, but they got him in the first year 200, far too cheap. Anyway, but Canterbury went to him and said, mate, if you can find a deal for you last year, go. He said, I want 750. I'm not going to find that. He was offered. He was getting offered 300 anywhere else.
And that happens a lot.
And they said to him, and they got heavy with him, though.
Yeah.
They said, mate, well, if you don't go,
be playing club.
You'll play state cup all year. And he said, beautiful. He played state cup all year.
Trained twice a week.
For 750 grand, trained twice a week, played well, but played state cup. And look, he didn't let his pride get in the way. A lot of players let their pride get in the way. I can't go and play state cup. Anyway, but that's the dirty deals that get done in this thing, and that's why I don't fight for the.
I think every case
for the love of the game.
Every case is different.
It is different, but I've got no problem with a player going, there's ways you can handle the deal. You can do it with a bit of class and a bit of, a bit of warning and all that. Like when Sonny Bill shot through and just
there was no
that was pretty ordinary the way that got done, but. I
agree. Mate, we've got our 510 players motoring to China. We've worked out we can replace them. If 6, 8, 10, 12 NRL players choose to go to a different code because they're off contract and want to do something new, the game will go on, mate.
Yeah, who cares?
We're all going to be okay.
Who cares?
That's what. Yeah, I agree totally.
Going to
with
be
you,
able to
Chimes.
sting a bit to someone.
Yeah.
I don't even think it'll sting, mate. Who
but there
cares?
is- they're allowed to do
Will
what
the
they want.
fans, like if Zach Lomax or Pappenhausen go, which they're rumoured to be.
Maybe Zach Lomax, not Pappenhausen. Pappenhausen's at the end of his career.
Yeah, not really.
Take the money.
He's beloved by Melbourne fans.
Yeah, I
though.
get it. I get
No,
it.
but at the same, you look at
I know,
Ryan.
and they got Failonga ready to come through after.
Yeah.
But he is adored by Melbourne fans.
He is. You look what he's put his body through.
Yeah.
And that,
He's
that
a China
knee
doll.
injury and the concussions.
Yeah.
You know, and he is a different thinker. If he's off contract and wants to try something different, you clap him off.
Yeah, but
Give him a
I'm with you,
cheer.
Chimes.
Good
I've
on
got no
you.
problem with it. I think some will go. The only way you got to do it is
Hasn't started.
you got to manage it the right way.
But it's not locked in yet either.
No.
Are you surprised at the criticism of Clinton Schifofsky and yourself? Or not yourself,
No,
but Clinton?
Not at all, mate. The agent's job
Yeah.
is to find opportunities for the player. If we were to say, if a player comes to us and says, I think I'd like to go and play rugby union in Japan or France or wherever, we can't say, mate, you're a leaguer, you've got to stay in league. You can't go to union.
Yeah,
We
but
work
the club,
for them.
But clubs have got but clubs are annoyed. Some clubs are annoyed with Tchaikovsky because they believe he is saying to he's approaching players who have got multiple years still left on their contract and talking to R360.
Kenty, we don't know they don't have out clauses.
No, I know that,
Yep.
but I know that. I'm just saying. But there, and mate, I dare say, some of these club officials who are annoyed at Tchaikovsky are hearing it about players that they're not actually involved
Mate,
with.
As I said, our belief and the way we do business, no player
Yeah,
would be encouraged or enticed or induced to break his contract.
Yeah.
That's not how we work.
yeah.
So that,
But
that-
there could be a conversation
that
where
will not happen.
you go to a club and say, look, he's got 2 years to go. He has been offered this. Would you be willing to?
those type of
consider releasing it.
conversations happen
All the time.
regularly.
I'm not accusing you of anything. I understand how it works. I'm just letting people know that's how it works. And
And from clubland to player.
Yeah.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
James, talk to me about that. So, like what frustrates me is clubs that sign players, and then the next year the player might not be as good as the year before and they try and push them out, right? And that happens sometimes. And then other times it's a player who wants to get out of the club. For example, Ben Hunt, right? Playing in the grand final this year, what we believe, I know you don't agree with the media and believe the media, he said, but agitated his way to get out. How do you, as a manager, deal with that?
Look, Benny Hunt has done nothing but been direct and honest with the club from the get-go when he was at the Dragons. So, when you use the word agitate, I don't believe he ever agitated to get out. His problem was he was just too honest. People will ask him, how do you feel? And he'd tell them.
Yeah, right.
Whereas, and you can't blame a bloke for being honest. But, he could have played safe and said, it's something we're working through, or I'll sort it out, or whatever. And he'd just say, I'm not happy here, or I'll be happier somewhere else. So I give him credit for being honest. I think that's good.
So how do you deal with that as an agent?
You support the player.
Right.
You support the player, but you don't. At the end of the day, a contract's a contract, in my opinion. So if you go to a club and say he doesn't want to be, and they say he's not going anywhere, that's the end of it. And that's what happened with Benny Hunt. That's the end of it. You don't go kicking and screaming, that's not fair, and we hate you, and we're going to get you. That's business. That's life. That's what happens.
Because you've got other players at the club too, right? So
Yeah.
you have to preserve your relationship with the club as well as...
Always defend the player. You
Right.
work for the player. Player gives you the instructions. You don't sit there and say, hey, mate, I'm going to rip you out of here and we're going to take you there. And I said the same thing with the Galvin thing when Isaac Moses was heavily criticised by the media. Isaac Moses didn't sit with that kid and say, we're going to Tigers, I'm taking you there. Tell mum and dad this is exactly what we're doing. You got to listen to me. The player, the parents, the agent collectively make the decision. It's not all one-way traffic.
So a lot of people have criticised the agents, and there's an agent review coming. What will that look like, and how much of a difference will that make to rugby league and to the fans who have this kind of picture of an agent hiding behind walls doing deals?
Yeah, I probably can't say too much about it other than what's been reported. I can probably repeat what's been reported. Are
you part of that?
No, not officially. I'll have input as an agent, as will all agents. But
who is part of that, do you know?
Oh, to be the RLPA, the NRL,
right,
and the Agent Accreditation Board, of which the agents have 2 representatives.
You're on that, aren't you?
No, I used to be. There's no agent on the Agent Accreditation Board. So when an issue comes up or a question about how agents work, no one there can answer it because they don't have a representative.
Sounds very rugby league.
Yeah. There's no females on the Agent Accreditation Board. And the way the female game's growing, I think we need some female involvement there. The big issues, to my mind, or a couple of big issues that have been reported are: should coaches have agents? Should agents be allowed to manage coaches? And there's this perception that agents can control clubs. I've always said that if a coach is silly enough to sign all his agents' players and run last, he's not going to be there too long.
Some are though, mate. Some are.
Well,
so some coaches see what they do. Chimes. Some coaches sit there, and their agent will try and get him a few players. He thinks this is beautiful. He's giving me inside running to sign a couple of good players, but it always comes back to bite him on the bum because you get the good players, but then after a year or 2 or 3. Mate, can you sign this bloke? You can't get a start anywhere else. And he thinks, shit, really? I don't want him.
Mate,
but he's been good to me. He's my agent, so I don't want to upset him and say no.
But nowadays, very few coaches are holus bolus decision makers when it comes to
that's
recruitment.
true too.
We have recruitment managers, we have CEOs, we have general managers of football.
But it does happen.
So it has changed. It may
so
have
tell me
happened.
recruitment agents don't have agents, do they? Please.
I think there's been instances where agents have done a deal for a recruitment agent, which scares me because their job is to negotiate, yet they can't negotiate for themselves. So that's a concern.
So what are the major changes which will come out of this?
Look, I think that's one issue. The other issue is what age you can sign a player. And at the moment, it's the year they're turning 15, and there's been discussions, and this has been recorded in the media, so I can talk about it, about raising that age to 17 or 18. And I'm a supporter. I don't have a drama with it.
Yeah, I agree too.
As long as it dovetails into clubland. So you can't have clubs signing kids at 15 if agents can't advise them at 15. So it should work in tandem. But look, other than that...
But if it's 17, like Sawali played NRL when he was 17.
Yeah.
Didn't?
There's
that won't happen again.
It won't happen for a while, I don't think.
Well, you've got to get
special.
I think he had to get dispensation. Sawali, and I think that was sort of highly debated at the time whether he should be allowed to do it. And certainly, if the age for the agents changes, they won't allow it to happen. At the moment, you've got to be 18 before you can play NRL, which I think is a good rule.
We constantly review the accreditation system, and this process has been going for quite a while, and discussions are in their infancy. I wouldn't call them negotiations, but commentary between all parties is bubbling, and in the near future it will evolve to a stage where we get to a point where some changes are made.
Will they introduce a trade window, do you think?
Trade window? That's something that the agents will have no input to. That's something at NRL level. I'm all for... I don't have any drama with the trade window. As long as, if the club wants to tap Greg Eastwood on the shoulder and say, we're going to trade you, then if Nathan Cleary says, I want to look at getting traded, and they say, no, you can't go in there. You're our best player. So it's all right to throw Paul Gregg in there because he's on too much money. So the trade window's got to have some balance. You can't have... If you had a trade window, it would become a dumping ground for overpriced players.
Yeah.
That'd be scary if your top player decides to pull.
Well, it can create poison within your club because the guys that are constantly getting tapped and asked to go might be best mates with the captain, or their wives might be best mates, or it just creates a disabled environment within that.
I don't think it fixes anything. Look, I don't care what system they come up with. at the moment the rules aren't policed properly as far as this November 1 deadline. They're not policed properly. We used to have the June 30 deadline. Remember back in the day, Chimes, like, no one was allowed to sign anywhere until after June 30. July 1 would come around, there'd be 8 announcements made. All supposedly done that morning.
Yeah,
like you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the media ring you the week before November 1 and say, well, what's going to happen? I say, mate, the clock doesn't strike 12 on November 1.
Yeah, but I know that. But see, agents have got smarter and not just dumping it all out on the day it becomes legal. But my point's this. I don't even really agree with the November 1 deadline. I would just make it open because they're not policing the rules. There's no point having a June 1, a June 30 deadline, November 1 deadline, trade window. They're all irrelevant if the NRL does not have the capacity or the wherewithal to actually police it.
I think they've got to do something, though. Otherwise, it'd just be a free-for-all.
Well, it is a free-for-all.
Yeah.
But in defence of the agents, a good deal of the movement is driven by the clubs.
Yeah, I'm not against that.
Yeah.
I
The
don't
vast
disagree.
majority is driven by the clubs.
I don't disagree. And it's generally clubs trying to offload players and
Who the coach signed last year.
Mate, I had a player once, I'll name the club. He signed at South, right? I'll name he signed the year they won the comp, right? 2 weeks after signing, they asked me to move him. 2 weeks after signing his new contract, they asked me to move him.
they've got that problem now with poor old Lewis Dodd. No one wants to take responsibility for signing him. They all blame each other for signing
2
him.
weeks they rang and they said, any chance of moving him? I said, mate, we just did him. And they said, we've had a look at our cap position and we probably shouldn't have done him,
Oh, wow.
And I said, no, he's staying.
He's there. Yeah. What are the threats now for the NRL? Is it internal? Is it external? Do we still see AFL as a threat, do you think?
I think they can coexist. The league's booming. I think at grassroots they remain a threat.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
They're a massive threat at grassroots.
What about concussion? Is that a threat?
It will be.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge down the track, and you can see that the game has already implemented, processes around it to protect the integrity of the game and hopefully stave off any chances of lawsuits down the track.
I don't think there'll ever be a lawsuit. Certainly there won't be a successful lawsuit.
Why do you say that?
Well, who do you sue?
The NRL?
Why not sue mum and dad for making you play footy when you're 9 years old? When you got your first concussion? Why not your junior coaches? Who do you sue?
Who do they sue in the US?
In the US, they sued, the players sued the NFL. But this is the important difference between the NFL and how they handle it and the NRL and how they are handling it. The reason the players successfully sued, got over $1 billion payout in the NFL, is because the NFL, as a big conglomerate, basically behaved like tobacco. They funded their own studies. They doctored the studies. So they had highly regarded professors and scientists or whoever, experts in the field, do their studies, which they funded. And they were like tobacco, where they came back and said, tobacco doesn't give you cancer. These NFL-funded reports came back that concussions don't give you CTE. Okay, and early dementia and all those things that we're concerned about. And they found the NFL guilty of doctoring these these proper reports and all that sort of stuff. So they muddied the water, okay? And that was the smoking gun for the NFL. Where the NRL is different is the NRL has reacted to every new piece of information, has implemented best practice according to whatever the latest studies are for the 11-day sit down, all that sort of stuff. They've done nothing. They've not resisted in any way, and so all they've ever done is behave and respond in a way that is regarded as the proper way to do it.
Duty of care.
Their duty. So they've done all all the best practice, duty of care, they have fulfilled, which is why I don't think you could sue them. And again, the NRL just simply go, well, how do we know he didn't get his? This didn't start when he played under nines. He got knocked out when he was under nines. How do we know that's not the problem? Does he sue mum and dad? That's what. What's her name? Brian Johnson's wife, Karen, about when she in her book, she's been approached by numerous people to take up a case on behalf of him. He got early dementia. And he was of the same mind when they had a rational talk about whose fault is it? Is it his junior footy coaches? Is it his junior rep coaches? There's no one there. The NRL is doing everything it can. The NFL didn't. The NFL tried to, recognising the true threat that it was, tried to actually put out alternative facts.
Chimes, you're very close to players, very, very close, obviously. Do you agree with that? Do you think the clubs are doing all they can for the players?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. From what I can see, and I've certainly never had a player come to me and say, we've got to be protected more.
Is that why they're lasting longer now? You know, players are playing Hunt, DCE, Reynolds.
Well, the game's changed.
That's all they rehab, mate. That's actually that's a recognition of how important recovery is.
But agree. But the game is safer now.
Oh yeah,
you can't get your head knocked off like in the old days.
The other thing is, what's interesting though is in the old days, you got your head knocked off, but when you're in the ball, you run and you see blokes put their arms up. Now they just keep their head up, like it's almost like this false sense that they're going to be okay. They do a lot better if they did put their hand up and just protect themselves a bit more. I think the players. That was standard when you hit the ball up back in the 70s and 80s. Then you had your hand up here to protect yourself from a swinging arm. Now they don't do it. I think there's a problem with the way they defend, which leads to a lot of this. They're so upright these days. That said, the amount of guys now who are bending, getting hit with an elbow or a hip, who knows?
Okay, so two of those players, obviously, who are playing late into their years is Ben Hunt and Adam Reynolds, both of your players.
Both Chimes.
Both Chimes. Chimes, how many players you got this weekend?
Oh, we've got 6 guys playing in the grand final on the weekend, 2 in the girls. So it's pretty hard to cheer.
Yeah, so what do you do there?
Well, the 2 girls, Jess Surges, Jamie Frezard at the Roosters. So I'll give the Roosters a cheer in the women's. Yep. And we've got 3 in each in the guys. So I don't follow a team personally. Lucky that all 6 players are champion people and really, really, really good people. So
you got both captains.
Both captains, Reno and Honey. But we cheer for the player. So, it's hard for me to say, I want Melbourne to win, I want Brisbane to win. I just want them all to play well. And I have no control over what happens anyway. So you just got to ride it out and cheer for them.
Kenty, you got a team?
No. No,
you're a Tigers supporter.
He's a Tiger. I keep calling him a Tigers fan, but
no, mate, I was a Bears fan. I was a kid. I was sort of Parramatta fan. And then when I played a couple of years in lower grades at North and really enjoyed it. So I sort of had a soft spot for the Bears. But the time they got kicked out, I was 29 or 30 or something, and working in the game, Chimes. And as you know, what I do is I support people.
Yeah, you hitch your wagon to good people.
Yeah,
players or coaches and that, everyone.
Well, just people I've got relationships with. In every game, this game I could be supporting Parramatta. Next, Parramatta against, I don't know, Manly. And the next week, Parramatta are playing South. I might support South. You know what I mean? Just according to who I know. Yeah, who I've got relationships with and friendships with and things like that. I don't follow a team because I don't kick stones when a team gets beat. I do enjoy going and watch West Tigers play. That's my dirty little secret, right? And my mates get upset because I don't feel the losses like they do. But I remember some years back, Justin Pascoe rang me up and said, mate, because I can hear the ground announcer from my ground from my home at Leichhardt Oval, right? That's how close I am to the ground, And, I used to walk the game and call in the Voddy Sampson's house on the way and say, come on, let's go. And but the thing about it is, he said to me, "What, mate? You live in the area. Why don't you follow us?" I said, "Mate, just give me something to support, though." I said, "I don't want you winning comps. I don't necessarily want you winning every week, but just be hard to beat." And they struggled to do that for too long, and so that's why it made it hard to follow them, given it wasn't born into me like it is into many of my mates. I grew up on the Central Coast, so I didn't grow up in an area of Sydney that had a team either. Yeah, and back then you're caught into whatever's going on or whatever your influences
So who's
were.
going to win?
Oh, I think Melbourne win, mate. I think Melbourne win. Melbourne, I think have got the experience through the spine that they need. They've got a couple, look, whenever you say this, it's a struck match between the spines, but I think Melbourne got a slight advantage. Struck match with the wingers, but I like the Melbourne wingers. Forwards, again, like Payne Haas, like if Melbourne can't contain him, he could very easily lead Brisbane to victory. You know what I mean? So, but I just want a good game of footy.
I think we'll get a good game of footy, yeah.
Chimes, who's going to win?
Don't know. It's going to be a draw, and they'll come back on Tuesday and play again.
Is it about redemption for Ben Hunt or not? That bullshit.
I don't even consider that.
That's bullshit, isn't
I don't think about
redemption.
Yeah, you know
For
how
who?
everyone's going on this Ben Hunt redemption, for dropping the ball. It's just rubbish.
Mate, that's just a story. That's
Yeah,
a newspaper.
Yep.
That's a newspaper narrative.
There was a
right?
moment in a game where 10 people dropped the ball
Yep.
that day. You know?
Yeah. But look, what it is if he does win the grand final, it's going to be a nice little intro to your story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
they won't miss it either way, will they?
No, exactly. You know, but that's just, there's some stories that are just newspaper stories. That said, if you go right back to the start of this, where we started talking today and talked about, the richness of sport. The richness of sport is the stories it tells. And that's why, look, we still talk about Scott Sattler's
tackle,
right?
It's the unpredictability, isn't it?
But the great part of that story was more than the tackle. He had a grand final moment like his dad. That was the great part of that. His father was written into rugby league folklore in 1970, I think it was, with the broken jaw, right? And then here we are, 32 years later, or 33 years later, Scott comes up with his own grand final moment. And that's the story that we still talk about today. We still talk about Benji's flick pass. We forget what Pat Richards had to do to score that try. You know what I mean? Like Pat Richards, he did more work than Benji did in that play, but we still talk about what Benji did, that flick pass, because of the audacity of it. And that's what I'm saying about, will this be a great year? Well, it depends how the grand final, what sort of bow the grand final puts on the season. If it's a stinker, like no one other than Manly fans like to talk about Manly winning 40-0 against Melbourne. Like that was just a rotten grand final. 40-0, game was over very early in the piece. And that year, what year was it? You know what I mean? There's the point. You know what I mean? That's the truth of it.
You should still be writing, Paul.
Well, he's going to try and get him to do that next year.
Really?
He was going to do it this year. He keeps saying no. Not going. All right, last thing, boys. Kenty always talks about his crystal ball. I don't know if it's his Ouija board or whatever he's got at home.
Right.
Give me your crystal ball moment for next year. What's going to happen?
Oh, geez. You caught me off on the hop here, was. Crystal ball next year. Here we go. Kenty's team, the West Tigers, will make the 8.
Very good.
How's that?
Yeah, that'd be interesting, yeah.
Kenty?
Look,
They're in the fight.
There's going to be a change in the 8. Not going to have the same 8.
I tell you what, mate, I do this every year. I go through and you find a reason for every club to be better than what they were last year. I don't. Things obviously happen. Like we all thought Titans were going to do something pretty special this year. They collapsed unbelievably.
All right, well, that's it for us. It's been a monumental year for us. We've got one more episode on Monday, which is a Kenty Blitz on Monday, a grand final review. Chimes, I just want to say thank you, mate. It's been great to meet you as a friend, and it's been an amazing year, 33 episodes. I'm trying to get you back for next year. You said you're Or twist his arm.
It's great to see Paul flying again. Too.
That's called distraction.
Yeah, you've done very well, mate, and it's been great. So thanks to everybody who's watched. It's been a fantastic year. I never thought rugby league would go so long. Jeez, it's a long season.
Long season when you're working every day in it.
But until Monday and until next year, watch the Cricket Pod too, by the way. And thanks very much, gentlemen. See you
Thanks,
next
Woz.
year. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.